Shamanistic theater. We will never know how far back in time theater goes or when, where, and how it originated. But in my research, I found that some scholars believe theater began with the Paleolithic shamans' religious rites. Shamanism existed in hunting cultures that predate agriculture, and as far as we know, these rites performed by the Paleolithic shaman are the oldest known prototype of theater. The roots of theater are in these religious ceremonies, and scholars also believe that all of the arts were in a ritual unity. Note the words all of the arts and unity. What is a shaman? To add some context here, this is us during the Paleolithic Age, and during this time, our shamans are inhabiting religious rituals, including masks, costumes, dances, music. They're also likely using props, dialogues, chorus, and myth, every element that we still today call theater. Neanderthals did rituals too. Shamanism is very complex, and it's a phenomenon that appears throughout the world. One man who intensively researched it was Andreas Lammel. He wrote about it in his book Shamanism, The Beginnings of Art. And he said that the human soul of a shaman could be separated from the body, and while separated, the soul could be sent to faraway places or other worlds, and then it could be recalled. Shamans also believe that souls exist in animals, stones, and rivers, and while in a trance, a shaman sends his soul outside of his body, often to the sky or the underworld, and he does it for his community. He can accompany the soul of a dead person to the underworld so it won't haunt those that it left behind, or cure disease by returning a lost soul to the victim who lost it or from whom it was stolen, and he can appease the gods or spirits that are bothering his community, or ask for lots of game and water. He's really the doctor and the therapist of the community, and he uses art. Here we see ancient cave paintings from the Ice Age, and it's believed that these paintings were created by shamans. Their rituals were very theatrical. They were like one-man shows. Professor E.T. Kirby wrote in the Drama Review in the 1970s that they did rope walking, conjuring, juggling, tumbling, sword swallowing. They did everything, but they didn't do it for entertainment. They did it to establish their powers for the people. Scholar Elisa Shriver-Ridgway speaks about Aristotle defining Greek tragedy as arousing emotions of pity and fear to accomplish its catharsis, and shamanic ritual does the same. Ridgway writes, quote, "The shaman suffers the dangers and pain involved in knowing the world of the spirits, and the shaman's ritual dramas integrate problems and anxieties of individuals into a harmoniously functioning whole society. The shaman is the soul of his community." End quote. Though some great shamans do both journeys, most of them specialize. The bird shaman is the shaman of the sky and looks like a bird, and the earth shaman looks like this, a horned animal, sort of like a reindeer. And both of them appear in ancient Paleolithic caves. They might have props like small rafts to cross the sea, a fish, a lance, idols. Again, as mentioned before, costumes, drums. They chant, they invoke fire. They invoke the ancestors, and the audience will gather. The shaman will drum and leap higher and higher into the air. His assistants sometimes repeat the refrain of his song in chorus with the spectators, and he'll speak in different voices like a ventriloquist and answer questions as these spirits. He becomes the animal spirit, singing or flying like the animal or bird. And there's a dialogue between the living and the dead, between spirits and humans, and everyone in the community gives a joyful cry, a choral cry, to greet him when he returns to life from the world of the dead. Shamanism has been documented all over the world by the earliest travelers. And archaeologists and anthropologists believe that the cave fresco art were painted by shamans. Gertrude Rachel Levy said that they were painted deep, deep within cave interiors. They were extremely difficult to get to. You had to get there on your hands and knees or through a manhole under which a subterranean river was flowing. And they were called the Versailles of Paleolithic art. Levy wrote, "Human figures portrayed on the inner sanctuary walls of the caves are almost always masked or clothed in animal skins, and they assume a bent position, giving a deep impression of humility and awe. Their uplifted feet look like they're dancing." So Elisa Schreiner Ridgway writes that the arts are manifest and appeared earliest in ritual unity. The shaman is a creative artist, proficient in dance and music, drama, poetry, paint, sculpture, costuming, masks, and many other things. And Lammel said that the shaman is in the truest sense of the word creative, the first artistically active man known to us. And to me, this is the most important point. To these primitive people, all of the different parts of their lives were joined as in nature. They were not separated. They would never rank or divide them like we sometimes do with the arts. Ridgway writes, quote, "In primitive life, religion and science, music, poetry and dance, myth and history, fashion and ethics appear inextricably interwoven. Each man of a primitive hunting group is part of the whole society. The emotions and actions of one individual are not his alone. Each individual affects all members of his group in such a profound manner that his thoughts and actions may lead to the preservation or destruction of others in his group. It is as if the members of primitive societies share a group consciousness and unconsciousness." End quote. So just like Aristotle said that Greek tragedy is to arouse pity and fear, to accomplish catharsis of these emotions, this is also true for people that are hunting animals and trying to survive in Paleolithic times. Lammel said such a group of natives must be regarded not as a sum of individuals, but rather as a total organism whose limbs consist of individuals. The individual human cannot live without a collective of this kind. And he also said, in non-literate cultures or cultures where the masses are illiterate, especially during times of crisis, one can only imagine the vital role of theater, the repository not only of all arts, but the drama of all tribal learning as well. So let's think about Aristotle's 6 elements. In one classic plot, the shaman is the epic hero journeying into the exterior world, defeating evil forces, returning with spiritual knowledge for his entire community. In the second plot, there's the death and resurrection of the shaman. He uses ventriloquism for the voices of spirits and animals, and he and his audience believe that he is them, and his language is beautiful and poetic. Like this. Compare that to this. The Greek god Dionysus, right? So Ridgway says, each shaman has his own special song. His chants often are wild animal cries. He barks like a dog. He sniffs at the audience. He bellows. He cries. He bleats. And members of the tribe join in the chorus, and this may have led to Greek choruses. So he dances and sings to the sky or underworld. He leaps and flies through the air to reach the heavens. He mimes to show when he's riding a horse or climbing a hill, and the audience sings with him in chorus. As we can see here, some masks show strings and rods around his head, and that's symbolic of his communication between spirits and the shaman. And if you look closely at these Paleolithic cave art paintings, you'll see those strings and rods jutting out from their masks. Their drums were called the shaman's horse, and they help put them into a trance, and they transport them to other worlds. and they're often made out of cosmic trees that were hit by lightning, therefore joining heaven and earth. So that drum made out of a cosmic tree projects the shaman to the center of the world. And his drumming is joining heaven and earth. He is passing through the axis of earth. These hands are now thought to be the hands of women. And here are some female shamans. So the most significant lesson for me, the one that reassures and resonates most deeply as truth for me, is that all of the arts are present. All of the arts are present. They all exist together, and they are for and a part of everyone. The shamans knew from the earliest times that art is spiritual, unified, whole, and an integral part of life and nature for all beings. So where is shamanistic art now? Well, it's in different places. The work of drama therapists and people who do psychodrama and playback theater is very deep and profound and integrates therapy with theater. There are shamanic traditions living on in cultures all over the world. And I must say, of all of our now separated arts, theater is the one most similar to shamanic ritual and how and why it is performed.